At the elegant banquet, Mei-fu discreetly discusses Saya with Wells. Looking deeply serious, she thoroughly analyzes her former fiancé's character. She recalls Saya's gentle nature, such as cheerfully helping the elderly and caring for animals, but dismisses these traits as naive, foolish, impulsive, and ultimately weak. Mei-fu concludes that Saya completely lacks the ruthlessness required of a family patriarch, viewing him as a mere idle young master who falls far short when compared to Wells. She notes that Wells possesses a significant, necessary edge of ruthlessness that Saya glaringly lacks. Wells smirks, openly accepting her harsh assessment of his brother as a flattering compliment to himself. Sipping his wine, Wells reasons that no one would want a fool for an heir, a pragmatic reality the calculating Bayusha family surely understands. He adds that even if they foolishly chose to support Saya, their nearest forces are 6-star sectors away, rendering them entirely useless for immediate intervention. Gesturing toward a group of distinguished elders gathered nearby, Wells asserts that over 80% of them already back his claim. He is confident they are not senile enough to let Saya take power, even if he were present. He states firmly that the family's fate cannot be entrusted to an incompetent failure simply by virtue of his birth order. Overcome by intense ambition, Wells crushes his wineglass. His aura violently flares red as he passionately declares that he alone is fit to lead the Laerces family. Mei-fu gently grasps Wells' hands to calm his surging emotions, reassuring him that Saya's luck will soon end and promising to handle her former fiancé completely. Wells pulls her close, telling her she no longer needs to waste any effort searching for his brother. With a sinister grin and dark purple energy swirling around him, Wells reveals that their esteemed young master has already delivered himself straight into their hands. Mei-fu glances toward the entrance, her expression sharpening as she notices the arrival of unexpected guests. Saya and Tongdun make a grand entrance into the banquet hall, drawing the attention of the surrounding nobles, who silently part to let them through. As they walk, Saya appears highly tense and nervous, a stark contrast to Tongdun's calm, imposing presence. Saya's expression hardens, filled with grave apprehension about the inevitable confrontation with his family. Noticing his friend's anxiety, Tongdun cheerfully pats Saya on the shoulder, advising him to relax. He casually reasons that a mere banquet couldn't possibly be more dangerous than the deadly battlefields of outer space. Confidently guaranteeing Saya's survival, he tells him to chill out, as there is nothing to fear. Saya is left momentarily speechless, completely exasperated by his bodyguard's overly relaxed attitude in the midst of such a critical political arena. Watching from a short distance, Pierre smiles warmly, highly amused by the comforting dynamic between her brother and his loyal friend as they march forward. The two men suddenly halt their exacts, coming face to face with someone blocking their path. Saya looks up to find Wells and Mei-fu standing together, presenting a united, condescending front. He tensely acknowledges his brother and his former fiancé. A wicked, mocking smile spreads across Mei-fu's face as she coldly expresses her surprise that Saya actually managed to survive her assassination attempt. Observing the massive warrior standing protectively by Saya's side, she calmly remarks that his exile to the dangerous battlefield clearly wasn't entirely fruitless. Filled with rage at the sight of his betrayers, an incredibly tense Saya furiously glares back, remaining completely silent. Feigning politeness, Wells tells Mei-fu that he is actually quite pleased Saya decided to show up today. He then confidently snaps his fingers to command the room's attention. The sharp sound draws the eyes of the banquet guests. Raising his voice, Wells patronizingly addresses Saya, claiming they used to be incredibly close, and that it would have been a great pity had Saya missed such a joyous occasion. Wells then smoothly shifts his attention, respectfully greeting Pierre and complimenting her as the beautiful flower of the Bayou Ashir family. Standing elegantly in her formal attire, Pierre silently acknowledges his greeting with a calm, composed demeanor. Sweating nervously with Tongdun looming behind him, Saya clenches his teeth, frustratingly realizing that Wells is already comfortably acting as the undisputed successor of the family. Suddenly, Saya spots a familiar figure in the crowd, and his face lights up with immense relief and joy. He eagerly calls out to Elder Bosi, happily announcing that he has survived and finally returned home. Saya remembers Elder Bosi as the family elder who doted on him the most, a man who once served as his late father's trusted right-hand man.
To attend the banquet stemmed from the desperate hope that loyal elders like Bosi were secretly waiting for him to reclaim his rightful place. However, Elder Bosi's expression remains completely cold and stern. Staring down at the young man, the elder bluntly states that Saya should never have come back, leaving him completely stunned by the harsh reception. Raising a dismissive hand, Elder Bosi delivers a crushing blow. He declares that Saya is no longer qualified to be there, revealing that the Elder Council officially voted 3 days ago to completely expel him from the family register. Saya is left utterly horrified and pale, reeling from the ultimate betrayal by his most trusted elder. The surrounding noble guests immediately break into excited gossip, shocked that the supposedly dead primary heir is actually alive and present. They eagerly anticipate the massive political drama about to unfold before them. Wells bursts into arrogant laughter, mockingly asking Saya how he could possibly win when the guests, the elders, and the council are all already under his control. Adding to the humiliation, Elder Bosi coldly waves his hand, ordering the guards to drag Saya away and lock him up until the banquet concludes so they can dispose of him later. As Pierre tries to step forward, 2 armored guards immediately cross their arms to physically block her path, leaving her visibly shocked. Elder Bosi issues a stern warning to Pierre, stating that despite her high status in the Bayusha family, she has no right to interfere in the internal affairs of the Lersas. He advises her to remain a silent spectator if she wishes to avoid being thrown out, seeing Saya completely paralyzed by the betrayal. Tang Dun urgently tells his friend to snap out of it, declaring that it is time for him to step in and forcefully carve a path of retreat. However, before Tang Dun can act, he is suddenly hit by a powerful invisible force that lifts his massive frame off the ground in sheer terror. He quickly realizes another expert is present, identifying the attacker's oppressive aura as that of an overwhelming level 13. The attacker is revealed to be Mr. Wu, a blind martial artist in an orange tunic who serves the Lersis family. With just a raised hand, he effortlessly suppresses the level 12 bodyguard. As the guards aggressively grab and restrain him, a struggling Saya curses his luck. He recalls his late father mentioning the immense fortune the family spent annually to retain a level 13 martial expert, bitterly realizing that this ultimate weapon is now being used to capture him. Looking down at the subdued Saya, Wells gloats that he originally wanted his brother to witness his glorious ascension to power, noting with fake pity that Saya will no longer have the chance. Forced to the floor with a guard's hand crushing his head down, a despairing Saya questions the Witchian's prophecy. He curses his own stupidity for believing in some grand destiny when it only led him straight into an inescapable trap. Suddenly, the scene shifts to the vastness of space just outside the planet, where a massive glowing tear rips through the cosmic fabric. An enormous, majestic white spaceship emerges from the brilliant blue portal, exuding an aura of absolute authority. The colossal vessel descends directly into the planet's atmosphere, its massive hull casting a dark, overwhelming shadow over the Lersis family estate. Inside the banquet hall, the guests rush to the balconies, staring up in awe and terror at the gigantic ship blocking out the sky, wondering who could possibly command such a vessel. Mr. Wu's calm demeanor shatters into absolute panic. Sweating profusely, he recognizes the ship and yells out that it is the personal flagship of the Stellar Commander, signaling that the supreme ruler of the Star Sector has personally arrived. The entire crowd of nobles erupts into sheer shock and disbelief at the unimaginable arrival of such a legendary and powerful figure.
This is the end of the video. If you would like to watch the next part, please subscribe to our channel.
Inside the banquet hall, the noble guests erupt into a frenzy. They rush toward the entrance in pure disbelief as word spreads that the Stellar Commander has arrived. As they scramble outside, people excitedly discuss the sheer magnitude of this event, noting that across the entire 100 Great Star regions, there are only 2 Stellar Commanders in existence. One guest explains that while one commander defends the outer space battlefield against alien beasts, the other rules over the star regions, making him the absolute highest authority among trillions of races. The crowd is completely baffled, wondering why such a supreme figure would ever visit their local gathering. Seeing an incredible political opportunity, an eager Wells urges Mifu to hurry and greet the commander with him, calling it a once-in-a-millennium chance. Elder Bosi enthusiastically agrees. He realizes that having the Stellar Commander present on the day of their family's power transition could elevate the Lerses family status to unprecedented heights. The crowd swarms out of the mansion, while a frantic Elder Bosi laments that they did not have time to prepare a proper welcoming ceremony. Outside, a bewildered Saya is still pinned down by the guards, muttering in shock about the Stellar Commander's sudden arrival. One of the guards forces Saya's face into the pavement and steps on his head. He cruelly tells Saya to keep his head down, claiming he is unworthy of looking at the Supreme Leader and warning him not to offend the VIPs. A colossal spaceship hovers above, projecting a brilliant beam of light down to the ground. the entire crowd of nobles, including the Lerse's elders, drops to their knees in absolute reverence as a figure slowly descends within the light. The figure touches down, revealing the imposing red-haired stellar commander, Ling Bu. As the kneeling crowd respectfully welcomes him, the stellar commander begins to address them. He tells everyone to rise and casually explains that he heard the Lerse's family was appointing a new patriarch today. He states he came specifically to offer his congratulations, politely asking if his uninvited presence is an intrusion. Overjoyed, Wells believes the legendary stellar commander has arrived just to honor his succession. Elder Bosi shares this immense excitement. Sweating but smiling broadly, he marvels that their modest family could receive such an unimaginable privilege. The surrounding nobles are equally stunned, murmuring among themselves that the Lerse's family is undeniably destined for unprecedented glory. Rushing forward to greet the supreme leader, Wells and Elder Bosi quickly assure the stellar commander that his presence is absolutely no intrusion. Internally, Wells is ecstatic, convinced that his ultimate rise to power is now guaranteed. Watching from the sidelines, Mifu is thoroughly pleased with herself. She gloats internally, certain she made the right choice by abandoning Saya for Wells, and fantasizes about becoming the queen of a powerful new era. The stellar commander smiles calmly, expressing his relief that he's not interrupting their proceedings, while an eager Wells laughs in agreeable submission. However, the stellar commander suddenly asks to see the new patriarch, casually referring to him by the name Saya Lerse. Wells's arrogant facade instantly shatters into pure shock as he stammers his brother's name in utter disbelief. A dead silence falls over the entire crowd. Elder Bosi and the other nobles freeze in complete confusion. Even the armored guards pinning Saya to the ground are bewildered, questioning if the ruler actually just asked for their captive. Seizing the brief moment of distraction, Saya strikes the guards, breaking free from their grip and demanding they let him go. As Wells turns around in panic, Saya sprints forward through the crowd, raising his hand to draw the stellar commander's attention. He desperately announces his identity. Finally reaching the center of the gathering, Saya stops to catch his breath, panting heavily from the exertion of his escape. The stellar commander smiles warmly and reaches out, firmly grasping a stunned Saya's hand in a highly respectful handshake. While shaking his hand, the stellar commander sincerely congratulates the young man, declaring that the starry sky will remember this momentous occasion. Saya is visibly bewildered by the endorsement, while Wells watches from behind. His face twisted in utter shock, desperate to salvage his carefully laid plans, Wells steps forward and frantically objects. He claims there's been a terrible mistake and insists that he is the actual new patriarch of the family. Mifu eagerly chimes in from behind, echoing his protests. The stellar commander completely ignores their frantic corrections, with a calm, dismissive expression. He simply asks the crowd if there happens to be a second person named Saya Lerse in the area. Wells is left completely speechless
and terrified, standing tall with absolute authority. The stellar commander formally declares that there is only one person he acknowledges as the true patriarch of the Lyris family, placing a supportive hand on Saya's shoulder. He firmly states that the title belongs solely to Saya. He then delivers a chilling ultimatum, warning the gathered crowd that if they choose anyone else as their leader, it will only prove one thing. With his eyes glowing a menacing red, the stellar commander's demeanor turns deadly serious. He threatens that choosing anyone else would mean the current members do not represent the true will of the Lyris family, heavily implying he will wipe them out if they defy his choice. This heavy implication terrifies the crowd. Elder Bosi and the other family members freeze in absolute fear, realizing that defying the stellar commander means the complete annihilation of their entire lineage. Instantly abandoning his loyalty to Wells out of sheer self-preservation, Elder Bosi raises his fist high. He loudly swears upon the family's glory that Saya will immediately be named the new patriarch. The rest of the opportunistic nobles follow suit without hesitation. They raise their fists and begin enthusiastically chanting Saya's name, instantly accepting him as their new leader to appease the stellar commander. Saya stands silently in the center of the cheering crowd, completely overwhelmed by the surreal turn of events. Pierre approaches her brother, her usual calm composure entirely broken. Looking at him in sheer astonishment, she asks how he possibly managed to secure the personal backing of the Supreme Stellar Commander. Crushed by the sudden reversal of fortune, Meifu collapses to her knees in tears, realizing the catastrophic mistake she made by betraying Saya. In a desperate fit of rage, she lunges at Wells, grabbing him by the collar and blaming him for ruining her future. Meifu slaps Wells hard across the face, furiously screaming that all the power and glory he just lost was originally supposed to be hers to share with Saya. Enraged by the assault, Wells violently punches Meifu back. He curses her as a pathetic gold digger and harshly reminds her that she was the one who willingly threw herself at him for power. Ignoring the chaotic scuffle between the former lovers, a deeply confused Saya turns to the Stellar Commander. He politely admits he does not actually know the Supreme Leader and questions why he intervened on his behalf. The Stellar Commander smiles warmly and tells Saya to thank the good friend he made on the dimensional battlefield. He explains that this friend wanted to ensure Saya was well taken care of, but since he couldn't leave the battlefield himself, he entrusted the task to the commander. Saya's face lights up with sheer excitement and awe as everything finally clicks into place. He recalls the mysterious witch Yin's prophecy, realizing her cryptic words have been flawlessly fulfilled. Overwhelmed with profound gratitude, Saya realizes that Liu Sheng was the one who orchestrated this triumphant return. He understands now that Liu Sheng is the prophesied crowned figure at the peak of the stars, who arranged for his absolute victory from behind the scenes.
This is the end of the video. If you would like to watch the next part, please subscribe to our channel.
Meanwhile, Haiji Dao passes a comforting message from the Stellar Commander to Lu Shen and Ao Nong Turing. He promises that their families and friends in the 100 Great Star Regents will be well taken care of, letting them travel to the star system's center with peace of mind. Placing a hand over his heart, Lu Shen asks Haiji Dao to pass his sincere thanks to the commander. Still worried, Ao Nong Turing asks about their next steps, doubting they can keep traveling in their damaged ship. Haiji Dao calmly tells him not to worry. He explains that the Stellar Commander has already set up a new ship for them. As the three men float together in the starry void, a bright light shines in the distance. Haiji Dao says their ride is here. Meanwhile, the bright energy suddenly tears open the fabric of space right in front of them. A massive, highly advanced spaceship flies out of the rift. Seeing this, Lu Sheng is amazed by the huge display of space power. He figures that crossing thousands of star regions to reach the hunting bow in half a cosmic year requires an immortal-level ship that can use stargates. Haiji Dao waves the group forward, saying the ship is here to pick them up and they should get on board. The giant ship shoots down a bright teleport beam. 15 level 12 martial artists float down to meet the group. As the strong guards land, a beautiful woman with purple hair steps out from the group, followed by her crew. Bowing respectfully, the purple-haired woman introduces herself as a worker for the Star Spirit Flower Chamber of Commerce. She warmly welcomes the respected Haiji Dao. Haiji Dao greets her as Miss Zai Yang Shen, smiling. He mentions it has been a long time and explains they need to catch a ride on her ship. Listening to them talk, Lu Sheng figures out the truth. Catching a ride really means they will act as bodyguards for the trip to the hunting bow. When Zai Yang Shen asks who Lu Sheng and Ao Nong Turing are, Haiji Dao simply calls them his students. Lu Sheng quickly understands the situation. Zai Yang Shen only agreed to take them because she needs Haiji Dao's great strength as a level 13 expert. To her, 2 level 12 students are basically useless extras. After boarding the huge spaceship, the 3 travelers are split up and taken to their own rooms. In his room, Ao Nong Turing is amazed. He stares at the size of his fancy cabin. Seeing it has everything and is as big as hundreds of stadiums, it could easily fit a small city inside. Lu Sheng is just as shocked. He looks up at tall, real-looking skyscrapers built right inside his room. Finding the crazy wealth hard to believe, gathering golden lightning at his feet to fly, Lu Sheng thinks about this.
If this huge city space is just normal treatment for Haiji Dao's students, the older warrior's room must be insanely grand. Flying high into the air to cross the city, Lu Shang makes sense of the size. Since the ship is as big as a dozen planets, giving a passenger a city-sized room is no problem for its makers. Looking around his huge fake environment, Lu Shang sees the ship's ability to support life is incredible. The vessel is split into millions of zones, each with its own working ecosystem. Curious about his room, Lu Shang uses his sharp hearing to listen to the ship's crew talking far away. Through their talk, he learns that most of these zones actually hold the huge amount of cargo for the Chamber of Commerce. He also discovers the ship has 50 level 12 guards and another level 13 expert working with Haiji Dao. Putting it together, Lu Shang realizes the ship really needs Haiji Dao's fighting power. This explains why they made a special trip just to pick the three of them up. A hologram of Haiji Dao suddenly appears before Lu Shang. He explains that the hunting bow is just another name for the center of the Heavenly Serpent Galaxy. If there are no accidents, they should arrive in 5 cosmic months. Catching the hint in his words, Lu Shang asks if these accidents mean space pirates. Haiji Dao agrees. On a long trip covering thousands of star regions over many months, avoiding pirates is almost impossible. Still, he promises Lu Shang that normal pirates would never dare attack a heavily guarded ship like this one. Lu Shang quickly understands the dark meaning behind that. Any pirate group brave enough to actually attack them would be very dangerous. Haiji Dao agrees with him. He takes a moment to speak deeply about how a man's true goals have always been out in the vast sea of stars. He explains a sad truth about the universe. Many eager young men travel into space looking for adventure, only to slowly turn into cruel space pirates. Going back to facts, Haiji Dao explains why they didn't bring their own ship. The trip is too long to survive without an immortal-level vessel, since their 2 home commanders shared just one ship. Borrowing it was impossible. Floating high above his fake city, Lu Shang agrees with this logic. Having their own top-tier
ship wouldn't keep them safe anyway. A small crew in a rich ship would just turn them into a big target, causing desperate attacks from greedy enemies. Haiji Dao adds that immortal-level ships are very rare because they're built from beasts at level 14 or higher. Only a huge group like the Star Spirit Flower, backed by multiple experts, has the money to own one. Also, only this kind of ship can survive the harsh pressure of a Stargate. Curious about the idea, Lu Shang asks how Stargate travel actually works. Haiji Dao uses an example. Normal space jumping is like folding a single piece of paper to cross a gap, but stargates fold endless layers of space into a wormhole, crossing them all at once. This is the only way to travel much faster than light. Lu Shang is shocked by the idea. He realizes that Stargate travel is on a much higher level than the simple space folding he knew before. Thinking about this, Lu Shang remembers a clear energy he felt earlier that felt like melting wax. He now knows it was pure space power. This gives him a bold idea. If he mastered this power, could his physical body travel through stargates alone? Eager to know, Lu Shang directly asks Haiji Dao this ambitious question. The older warrior is shocked at first, muttering about a body crossing a stargate. After a short pause, he firmly confirms it is actually possible. But Haiji Dao quickly lowers his hopes. While it works in theory, almost no one can do it. He admits that out of all the strong people he knows, not a single one has done it. When Lu Shang asks why it is so impossible, Haiji Dao explains universal laws. Most laws don't have strict power rankings. However, there is one specific law that everyone agrees is the absolute strongest. As a giant cosmic clock appears behind him, Haiji Dao reveals the name of this supreme power, the law of space-time.
The next part, please subscribe to our channel.
Haiji Dao continues his lesson, explaining that the law of space-time can be split into time and space. While these are the most common forces in the universe, they are also the most mysterious. Lu Shang listens closely. He adds that everyone is constantly surrounded by these forces. We all feel the flow of time and live in a space where every slight movement gives instant feedback. Despite this constant exposure, Haiji Dao shares a harsh truth. No one has ever truly mastered both powers. Lu Sheng crosses his arms, thinking deeply about this heavy statement. Curious, Lu Sheng presses the issue. He asks if there really isn't a single person in existence who has managed to master both. Haiji Dao shakes his head. He explains that beings who can master space are higher life forms, far beyond the sovereign level. Such people are incredibly rare and have never appeared in the history of the Heavenly Serpent Galaxy. He notes that Lu Sheng might have heard legends about these beings back in the star region, though those stories are completely unproven. Smiling gently, Haiji Dao admits neither he nor the highest-ranking commander has ever heard of anyone mastering time. He firmly states that the power of time is not something any single life form can control. Lu Sheng thinks that while space is somewhat understandable, time is completely different. Lu Sheng's mind wanders back to his past life on Earth. He compares controlling time to the wild ideas only found in anime and sci-fi. He realizes he cannot even imagine what facing such power would be like. Even though he can casually destroy stars, that level of mastery remains completely out of his reach. He reflects on the limits of mortals. Even the supreme ruler of a star region, a flawless level 16 martial artist, cannot achieve true, eternal life. Clenching his fist, Lu Sheng remembers his early days as a student. Whenever his teachers spoke of the universe, he always felt tiny compared to the vastness of nature. It is a humbling feeling that still grounds him today. Despite his immense strength, a sudden wave of powerlessness washes over him, a feeling he hasn't had in a long time. Ever since he stepped into space, he has easily defeated level 13 experts and even challenged level 14 beings. Visualizing time and space as swirling orbs of orange and blue energy, he realizes something. Despite wielding multiple laws, he still feels like mere dust compared to the true, raw power of the universe. His eyes narrow with focus. If he could grasp even a fraction of these powers, it would heavily increase his chances in the coming war. While normal fighters could never hope to touch time and space, he knows he has a unique advantage. Sitting cross-legged, he realizes that with the entire Tinder mini-universe backing him, there must be records of these powers hidden in his domain. He immediately enters a deep meditation to start his search. Inside the ruined city of his dream world, ignoring the zombies below, Lu Sheng projects his mind. He summons many blue screens, using the universe's origin power to search the vast archives for clues about time and space. He commands the system to find any top experts in history who mastered space. A glowing avatar of a blonde woman appears as the system processes the massive amount of cosmic data. Liu Sheng thinks about the huge scale of his search. Haiji Dao said such a person might only appear once in a star region. However, by searching the universe's complete history, his chances are much better. Suddenly, a specific profile catches his eye and breaks his focus. The screen shows an older bearded man, identifying him as the Lord of the Tianlin Star region, Yang Yizhou. Staring at the screen in shock, Liu Sheng recognizes the man as his own mentor. He is deeply confused, recalling that his teacher's style was the path of the four poles. He struggles to understand how his master could secretly be the universe's top space expert. Deep in thought, Liu Sheng reflects on his training. He had heavily relied on the techniques taught by his master and senior brothers. Yet out of all those profound lessons, the only one he never fully understood was the path of the four poles. He admits he only grasped the surface of that technique because it was so difficult. He had just memorized it without truly learning its core concepts. He was completely unaware of the supreme spatial power hidden inside it. His eyes widen as everything clicks. Suddenly, a spiritual projection of Yang Yizhou appears behind him. The old master notes that his student has reached this level of understanding much earlier than expected. Yang Yizhou smiles warmly. greeting his student after so much time. Liu Sheng gazes back with deep respect, finally realizing the true weight of his teacher's hidden legacy. While Liu Sheng immerses himself in this discovery, the massive Star Spirit Flower spaceship continues its smooth voyage through the dark, empty expanse of the cosmos. Getting ready for a massive jump, the front of the ship charges up. It fires a thick beam of bright green energy directly into the void. The intense energy melts through reality itself, tearing open a massive, crackling wormhole. The giant ship speeds up and dives straight into the rift. Moments later, the spaceship bursts out of another tear in a completely different region. Violent cosmic lightning surrounds the hull as it successfully completes the jump. Inside the command center, Ji Yanqin sits calmly in her captain's chair. An officer reports that they safely passed through 23 spatial zones. He notes that while the ship took some damage, it remains well within safe limits. Shi Yanqin nods, agreeing that the wear and tear is fine. She orders a shift change, giving the active crew a half-day of rest to recover. Resting her chin on her hand, Shi Yanqin thinks about their situation. The ship must now stay still to recharge and undergo repairs before the next leap. Her expression darkens. She knows this downtime makes them highly vulnerable, creating the perfect chance for space pirates to ambush them. Gazing out the window, Shi Yanqin asks her crewmate about the current location and status of Master Wu Tian and Master Haiji Dao. The crew member nervously checks his screen. He replies that Wu Tian went to the entertainment sector, while Haiji Dao has stayed quietly in his room. Sitting back and crossing her legs, Shi Yanqin reflects on their security. Wu Tian is a trusted longtime guard for their Chamber of Commerce. However, Haiji Dao is just a temporary escort, whose loyalty is still being tested. She orders her men to meet all of Haiji Dao's needs to keep him happy. When she asks about his two disciples, the crew confirms they are also staying out of trouble. Shi Yanqin smiles, noting that the two level 12 youths don't need much attention. Their combat power means very little right now. Suddenly, a blaring red alarm interrupts the calm bridge. Outside, dozens of hostile ships begin to swarm the Star Spirit Flower. A panicked crewman reports they are completely surrounded by space pirates. They face over 100 enemy ships, led by 7 dangerous level 12 experts. Unfazed by the threat, Shi Yanqin stands up. She immediately orders a bounty to be issued to all level 12 and above fighters currently on the ship. She declares it is time for their hired muscle to earn their keep. With a cold smirk, Shi Yanqin notes that their cargo ship looks like a fat, easy target to the pirates, but it is actually a deadly trap. She muses that wiping out these fools will bring in a nice side profit. Without a level 13 expert, the pirates cannot breach their defenses. She resolves to sit back and enjoy watching her forces crush the invaders. To her, the coming slaughter is just welcome entertainment to break up the boring voyage. Outside the safety of the bridge, smaller pirate ships continue to warp into attack formation. Aboard one of the enemy vessels, dark figures with glowing red eyes confidently discuss their ambush. Having gathered their entire fleet, they firmly believe the Star Spirit Flower only has a single level 13 expert to defend it. The blonde avatar remains silent as Liu Sheng stares in astonishment at the spiritual projection of his former mentor, Yang Yizhou. The projection begins to impart wisdom, questioning the fundamental nature of the 4 poles: earth, wind, water, and fire. Listening intently, Liu Sheng realizes why he failed to grasp this technique before. Its core concepts conflicted with his understanding of the 5 elements, causing his attempts to merge the martial paths to fail. Enveloped in intense flames, a realization hits him. He understands that the 4 poles and the 5 elements share the same essence, both serving as foundational building blocks of the universe. As symbols of earth, wind, water, and fire appear around him, he sees their harmonious nature, noting that they do not actually conflict with each other. Empowered by this realization, Liu Sheng floats as an explosive surge of fiery energy erupts from his body. Reflecting on his power, He realizes that his previous use of the 5 elements was far too extreme compared to his master's balanced approach. He figures out that his 5-element system, with its cycle of creation and restriction, is actually a more advanced evolution of the 4 poles. He finally understands that this deep connection is why he managed to glimpse the level 17 realm during his master's past teachings. To fully process this massive martial insight, Liu Sheng sits cross-legged in midair and enters deep meditation. A swirling vortex of elemental energy completely envelops him. The 5 elemental laws smoothly merge into his being, triggering a powerful evolution, thanks to Yang Yizhou's legacy. Soon, a glowing golden sphere fractures. Liu Sheng looks down in alarm, realizing his immortal Dao golden core has unexpectedly cracked. The core shatters in a blinding cosmic explosion, leaving Liu Sheng completely stunned by the massive release of energy. As the light settles, Liu Sheng sits calmly amidst swirling stardust. He is amazed to see that the destruction of his core birthed a miniature universe inside. Observing this, he notes the internal cosmos is constantly expanding. He wonders if his Dantian will eventually grow into a boundless universe. His worry quickly turns into deep curiosity. He wonders how the fundamental power of space naturally generates within this new internal realm. A realization washes over him. He raises his hand, effortlessly creating a swirling vortex of spatial energy as he senses a deep new connection to the universe. Using the spatial forces with his fingertips, he projects the energy outward and tears open a massive spatial rift right in front of him. With a single thought, Liu Sheng seamlessly merges his physical body into the portal. An instant later, he bursts out of another tier, reappearing in the starry void several light-years away from his original location. He looks around his new surroundings in disbelief, thrilled that his ambitious theory actually worked. Generating a ring of spatial energy, he reflects on the achievement. He realizes he didn't rely on the external universe to teleport. Instead, he used his own mastery over the law of space. Smiling with absolute confidence, he concludes he successfully executed a spatial jump using nothing but his own body and power. Testing the limits of his new ability, Liu Sheng generates a spatial vortex. He notes his initial jump was nowhere near his maximum range and decides to train harder. Opening multiple portals across the void, he realizes the immense tactical advantage this grants him. He knows that with rapid teleportation in combat, no opponent can match his speed or catch him. With a satisfied smirk, he realizes his mastery over space means he won't need to rely on spaceships for travel across nearby star sectors anymore. Inside his dream space, Liu Sheng joyfully dives in and out of countless portals. This relentless teleportation practice makes his proficiency with the law of space skyrocket. Several months pass uneventfully. Back in reality, Liu Sheng sits quietly on his bed inside his cabin aboard the Star Spirit Flower. He stands up and gazes at the vast universe. His expression grows serious as he reflects that despite the time passed, his cultivation remains stuck at level 12. A sense of urgency washes over him. He questions if he has enough time to reach his goals, concluding that his current pace is simply not fast enough. Summoning a spark of spatial energy, he thinks about the past 4 months. Having mastered the combat applications of the spatial law, he is confident anyone below level 14 cannot hit him in a direct fight. However, his confidence wavers regarding opponents at or above level 14, having never faced a true expert of that caliber. He recalls his fights with level 14 zombies in his dream space, noting their degraded strength makes them useless as reliable power benchmarks. He also realizes the dream space zombies lack true aggression. Whenever he retreats using his spatial abilities, the undead stop attacking and never pursue him, meaning he faces zero pressure to push past his current limits. Liu Sheng generates a highly concentrated sphere of spatial energy in his palm. Alongside his movement abilities, he has developed a lethal offensive technique using the law of space. He can bypass physical defenses by teleporting this volatile energy directly inside an opponent's body, tearing the enemy apart from the inside out. With a confident smirk, Liu Sheng realizes his arsenal has grown so vast he can barely keep track of all his powerful trump cards. Snapping his fingers, he acknowledges one lingering disappointment. Despite his rapid mastery over space, he still has absolutely no clue how to comprehend the elusive law of time. Liu Sheng materializes in the middle of a crowded sidewalk in a bright, bustling modern city, surrounded by ordinary pedestrians. Children playfully run past him, but Liu Sheng remains perfectly still, standing like an immovable rock against the flowing crowd. He reflects that this peaceful city is just a simulated illusion from his memories. He knows the grim reality is that his home planet will be the first casualty in the impending cosmic calamity. Staring at the illusion, he laments that he is merely an observer of this fabricated timeline. As a vortex of ethereal clocks appears in his mind, he contemplates the overwhelming grandness of time. He realizes that while spatial forces can be manipulated, the flow of time remains completely beyond his grasp. His deep thoughts are suddenly interrupted by a rapid beeping notification. A warm smile spreads across his face as he realizes someone finally contacted him after a long period of silence.